Welcome to the Build Your Private Practice podcast, a space for Canadian therapists who want to support others, make an impact, and build a sustainable practice that works for them too. I'm your host, Liane Wood, a registered psychotherapist, group practice owner, and business mentor, and I'm here to help you build a private practice that allows you to keep doing the work you love without burning out. Because the people who need your help the most are counting on you, and you deserve a practice that supports you while you support them. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Build Your Private Practice podcast, the place where Canadian therapists get real-world strategies and support to grow their private practices without burning out. I'm your host, Liane Wood, and today's episode is a little extra special. We are pulling back the curtain on something that's easy to overlook but absolutely foundational to a sustainable practice: community. Now, if you've ever felt like you're building your practice inside a vacuum, second guessing every decision and wondering if you're doing it right, this conversation is for you. And I'm thrilled to be joined by someone new to the Build Your Private Practice team, but definitely not new to supporting growth, our new community growth partner, Lena Lang. Lena is here to help make sure that no therapist in our community ever feels like they have to figure it out all alone. And today we're going to dig into what she is seeing already, what community really makes possible, and why this piece matters so much more than people think. So, Lena, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm so excited to have you here as part of this new chapter, not just for Build Your Private Practice, but for the therapists that we serve. So I'd love it if you would start us off by introducing yourself and maybe sharing a little bit about what drew you to joining the Build Your Private Practice team.
Absolutely. Yes, be happy to. So, I guess like a really big foundational piece about me is that I've always been a really curious person. And I like one of the biggest questions that I always ask myself is like, why are people the way they are? Why is our society the way that it is? Like, I'm the kind of person that asks those really big questions. And I think that's something that I have in common with, therapists and mental health professionals is because we all start our education journey asking those kind of big questions. And that was certainly the case for me. My background is also in psychology. That's what I studied in university. I always had dreams of becoming a therapist myself, but life kind of took me in a different direction. My background professionally is in, HR and education. And so when I saw the opportunity at Build Your Private Practice, it just was the perfect crystallization of everything that I've been doing sort of in the entrepreneurial community, and also like my own journey with mental health and psychology education. All of those pieces really seem to blend seamlessly. And so I was really excited to join, and I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, amazing. Well, we're thrilled to have you here. And I know that, our community members who've already been interacting with you are thrilled that you're here as well. So
It's
your
nice to hear.
title is Community Growth Partner,
Mhm.
and this was a very intentional choice with this title. But I'd like to know from you what that title means to you personally, and what are you hoping to bring to the Build Your Private Practice community?
Absolutely. So, there's two parts to it. The community, like what does it mean to be in a community? It means that we're all sort of related in the sense that we are working towards a goal. And I think that like defining and like bringing everyone's attention to that goal again and again is
Mhm.
something that's really important because, the programs that we have, they are self-paced, with a coaching element to them. But, when you're kind of working through modules on your own, step after step, even with guidance, it's can be easy to lose sight of like the bigger picture that you're trying to walk towards. And so community is really there to remind you like, hey, this is the goal that you want to reach to, and this is the goal that you can reach, and so facilitating that as well as the growth. So I think of growth as like personal growth,
Mhm.
but also growth as in like what the financial goals and the business goals that you want to grow into. Growing from a therapist to an entrepreneur, that is a journey and it requires expansion on the personal side as well as the logistical side. So for me, it's both of those pieces, like kind of creating that community feel like, hey, we're all in this together. And B, hey, like this is the goal we're working towards. And yes, it is possible for everyone here to reach their goals and to grow into that new chapter of their lives. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Oh, I love your heart in this, Lena, as you're talking
I'm very
about,
passionate about it, and I'm glad that's coming through.
just, the idea that, yeah, private practice, being in private practice can be quite isolating. You can feel like you're in a
Mm,
silo. And so,
mm,
what you're sharing here is, how you want to help therapists not feel that way, right? So they realize there is
exactly.
a community of other practitioners here that they can speak with and they can talk to and bounce things off of, ask questions, all those types of things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Like I've been in entrepreneurial communities. I've been an entrepreneur myself,
Hmm.
as a digital nomad. And so, this comes up again and again, like the need
Mm-hmm.
for community because, there's no roadmap a lot of times for
Hmm.
starting your own business. Yes, you can take courses, you can watch YouTube videos, but a lot of times the advice and the guidance is very contradictory. And
Hmm.
so having a community of people who can say like, "Oh yeah, I tried that," or "That worked for me, that didn't work for me," or like, "Oh yeah, you're on the right track," like, "Oh, I was where you are before."
Hmm.
That's really motivating and that's really grounding. And I think that anybody making that that leap into entrepreneurship
Hmm.
really could benefit from being a part of community, even if it's a virtual one.
Right, right. Yeah, and so I know that you're, still relatively new in the Build Your Private Practice community, but I'm curious to hear, from you what you are noticing already from the therapists in our community. What's standing out to you?
What's standing out is that, people are very keen to connect, right?
Mm,
So just the other day we had a post where, we were asking people to share their face and a little bit more about themselves. And gosh, we had so many people introduce themselves and like come out of the woodwork and share a little bit about, where they're from and, what type of therapy they do and and I could see a lot of connections being made even in the comments. So definitely our folks are really keen to connect, really keen to share what they're doing, and to ask questions, tips and tricks. So definitely our community is very responsive for the most part and really keen to share their knowledge.
hmm. Yes, I've noticed that too, right? When someone asks a question,
Mhm.
there's a lot that comes back from the community in terms of answers and resources and suggestions. Yeah, it's all
Absolutely.
good.
We're very lucky to have people like that.
Yeah, yeah. And from your perspective, why do you think community is so essential for private practice growth, not just
Mhm.
emotionally, but also strategically?
Mhm. Well, I mean, I think that like again, a lot of entrepreneurship is guessing and testing. It's like having sort of a working theory of what's going to work and then putting that theory into practice and then waiting for, feedback from the market, right? And so a lot of it is you just kind of having like these mini experiments and then kind of refining your strategy going forward. So if you can like connect with people who've already tried these strategies who've actually like done the experimentation for you, you can maybe save yourself some time, right? So like an example of that would be like I hear a lot and I see this a ton as well in all sorts of not just for therapists, but all sorts of communities where, the moment someone goes into business, they'll say, well, of course, I need a website. That's the first thing I need, right? Let me hire someone, pay them a couple of thousands of dollars, a couple $1,000 to create a beautiful logo, a beautiful website, and then they get it and it sits and it doesn't do much. So you know that approach is obviously not as it's not as effective as like doing the groundwork beforehand around messaging, around branding, around really the intentionality there. So like if you're someone new to the industry and you saw somebody do that and have those kinds of results, then you're much more likely to save yourself resources, both time and money, by learning from their experience,
Mhm.
and incorporating it into your working theories of what you should be putting into practice. So definitely having community is a huge element of learning, and advancing at an even faster pace than you would be on your own.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that too, right? Like I always think, it's good. It's good to,
Mm-hmm.
look things up yourself, but if you can learn from someone else's experience, then how much better is that, right? Um, mhm.
Yeah.
And what do you think your vision is going to be for how community support inside Build Your Private Practice continues to evolve? And what kinds of conversations or spaces do you hope to create?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that like one of the things that's really important is definitely resource sharing. Like, we obviously have a lot of resources in the Build Your Private Practice Learning Center, learning platform. But there's always more that we can learn from, the professionals that are in our network,
Mhm.
whether it's a podcast, a handout, any kind of other business related resources that people come across, they can share and we
Mhm.
can learn from them as well. And so I'm looking forward to facilitating more of that knowledge exchange, but
Mhm.
also like harkening back to like the why, because I
Mm,
think that like when you are going through a program on your own, even if you have a guide, again, it can get really lonely and you can get disoriented, and you can end up with a lot of self-doubt. So harkening back to that why, like, why are we in the helping profession? Like, why are we hoping to be in private practice? Like, what's that why? Like, keeping that really fresh.
mhm,
So, like just the other day, I was asking something like, what's your therapist origin story? Right.
mm,
And I was really heartened by, what people shared, what got them into the mental health field to begin with,
mhm,
and that was so nice to read through. And I'm sure it was inspiring even for, people who didn't comment, just to kind of see like, hey, like we're all in this together. We're all trying to make the world a better place, make the world a healthier place.
mhm, yeah,
Often at great cost to our own mental health. The specter of burnout is always so near, when you give
mhm,
so much of yourself to other people, that like
right,
going back to that why, like why are we here? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to create in the world through our effort? I think those are the kinds of deeper conversations that I hope to facilitate and have on display and have people join in and share.
amazing. I am loving what you've been doing so far and seeing, people commenting and joining in and putting in their thoughts and their feedback. And I think, a lot of what you just said is also really important. You mentioned burnout, and we talk a lot in Build Your Private Practice about finding support that feels aligned, right?
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
not performative or pressure filled. Our whole
Hmm.
goal is to help therapists avoid burnout. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
what would you say, Lena, to a therapist who's maybe not had a positive experience in other groups or is hesitant to show up in a community space?
Yeah, I can feel that. I get that, that kind of comment from time to time, like, hey, I've joined other communities.
Hmm.
It's not so helpful. Maybe there's some schisms, there's some drama happening, and I just want to be on the sidelines. And I guess what I would say to that is, first of all, like we take great care to make sure that our community is really like productive and helpful and supportive. And we really like make sure that the people that end up being visible are the people that are contributing positively to the group. So it's something that we're very vigilant about, just to keep the general the space on a really positive vibe, and a helpful vibe. And then the other thing too is that like you get out what you put in, so you're
Hmm.
absolutely welcome to, join and then kind of watch from the sidelines and, be a lurker. That's totally
Hmm.
fine. Be a lurker, somebody who sends emojis and likes. That's totally fine. But, I would encourage them to to take a chance, maybe ask a question or offer a comment or, engage in some way because usually what you'll find is that, when you put something in, your efforts are rewarded a thousandfold. You'd be surprised, like the people that are waiting on the sidelines to help you, to support you, to cheer you on at the very least.
Hmm.
So once you take that first step, I think that you'll find you're even more engaged with the material, with the community, and ultimately, like you'll be more motivated to work towards your own goals.
Right. Oh, yes. I love that. You get out of it what you put into it. I say that so often in my therapy sessions with clients, around therapy. So I can see
Mm,
that being true in a community as well. And
mhm,
I get it when that people have not had a positive experience. Think about your
mhm,
therapy clients. If they haven't had a positive
mhm,
experience in therapy with a different therapist, right? They might be just a little bit weary or cautious about starting therapy with a different therapist. And so we can have that same experience in communities. And
mhm,
so just, understanding that, yes, there are some risks in being involved in
mhm,
community and
mhm,
understanding that, we're trying to do our best with our community
mhm, mhm,
to address things like trust and be
mhm.
very intentional about making this a different type of community, one that is
Yes.
safe and is supportive and positive.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really great example with the therapy and how, you can reach out for, mental health help and not have the best experience, but then that doesn't mean that you should stop looking. You should stop exploring your options
Right.
because, we don't want to be burdened by our um, negative experiences to stop us from reaching for those positive experiences that can be possibly transformational, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Lena, before we wrap things up here today, if someone is feeling a little bit stuck or they're trying to grow their practice solo, what would you like to say to them?
Mm. Well, first and foremost, that it is possible. Whatever it is that you dreamt of, it is possible to do. Like,
Mm.
there's countless examples of others before you who have also felt stuck, have also felt lost, have also felt under-resourced, to actually create or bring into life their vision for their practice.
Mhm.
I think every single entrepreneur can relate to that. At some point, people, do feel like, oh my God, is this really possible? Like maybe I should just give up and go back to what's comfortable. But
Mhm.
even if you have to, fail 10 times before it happens, it's still worth it. The worst thing in life is living with any kind of regret. So even if you feel stuck now, know that there are resources for you and, that there is support in a way that breaks things down step by step. There's a lot of hand holding that we do here through the difficult parts, through the messy parts. And, we can get you through the finish line if you're like willing to stick it out. And that's really the key thing is just like sticking it out, sticking with it, and until you kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel. But it is the number one thing, you asked the number one thing is like, you can do it. It is possible to bring your vision into reality. It
Mhm.
100% is. Yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
achievable dream.
it is achievable, right? Sometimes we just have to
Mhm,
find the supports that we need in order to help us get there, right?
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And it's worth it.
I
Yeah,
think
like your
so.
dreams are worth it. You're worth it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and when I think about, just the state of mental health in Canada, we need every therapist we can get, right,
Hmm.
to be working with people because um, while, certain clients will connect with me, they're not the same
Hmm.
clients that are going to connect with you or another
Hmm.
therapist. And so that's why we need such a diversity of
We
therapists out
do.
there because our communities are very diverse.
They are. Yes. I think that's a really great point that, and I hear this a lot that, when I'm on Reddit, for example, there's a lot of people thinking about entering the field and they say things like, oh, it's already so saturated or, oh, I'm not sure. Like maybe the investment that I'll have to make to, get certified, is it really going to give me the kind of a lifestyle that I might want that's going to be sustainable, given that there's this, surplus, seeming surplus of mental health professionals. Like, am I going to really be able to make it? But I would
Yeah.
say, if you're the kind of person that is at all interested in helping people in this way, helping people really through the darkest times of their lives, if that's like within your heart, that's like within your capability as a person, then it's absolutely worth it. And there is a space for you because, like you said, there's such a diversity of populations and approaches, that there is definitely a space and there's a deep need. So it's
Mhm.
definitely worth it. And I hope that anyone who's thinking about this will pursue it because we need more healers in the world. The world needs a lot of healing.
Absolutely, they do. And just to your point about saturation, because I do hear that,
Mm.
from
Mm.
therapists. There's so many therapists, but there are so many more people in need
Mm.
of help. And,
Mm.
I think if the therapy world in Canada was truly saturated,
Mm.
we would not be seeing stories in the news about the mental health crisis in Canada,
Mm.
right? It's
100%.
more a visibility issue. Right? It's
Mm.
more a visibility issue. I think, therapists in private practice, people don't know that you're there, right? And
Mm.
so it's about finding a way to get your message out, not in a
Mm.
salesy, pushy way, but in a
Mm.
way that says, I'm here to help. And so that
Mm.
the people that you can help, they can find you and they can find the
Mm.
help that they need. Right. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to thank you so much for this conversation and the work that you're doing in Build Your Private Practice to help make therapists feel truly seen and supported. Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so much.
being here. Yeah. And to everybody
Thanks for
who's
having me.
listening, if you've been trying to grow your practice in isolation, I want you to hear this clearly. You do not have to do this alone. Come join us inside our free Facebook group for mental health therapists. It's not just a group, it's a grounded, values driven space where you can get support, ask real questions, and connect with people who get it. So, as always, if today's episode has resonated with you, please take a second to follow the show, share it with a friend, and leave a quick review. It really helps us reach more therapists who need this kind of support. So, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Build Your Private Practice podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow Canadian therapist who needs this. And remember, the work you do matters. Keep showing up, keep holding space, and keep building a practice that works for you. If you're looking for practical tools or support to grow your practice with more clarity and confidence, head to buildyourprivatepractice.ca. There's lots waiting for you there. I'll see you next time.